welcome to the show. This is a podcast about the end of the world, and today we are going to be talking about the wonderful movie from 1990 called Crash and Burn. And I'm here with Travis. Travis, say hi.
I am here.
Here and there and everywhere. How's your
Yep,
day been going?
been pretty good. I enjoy. I rewatched this movie again today, and
Nice.
I really liked it. I gotta
I
be honest with you.
No, yeah, it's not a bad movie, honestly. Like it is like
No.
I actually wrote down. I think like my biggest note is this movie is surprisingly good, but not quite as good as I want it to be.
Exactly. I
Yeah,
think there's so many things. I thought for a minute I was like, oh, in the beginning credits, I was like, oh, Bill
yeah,
Moseley. I know exactly where this movie's
yeah,
going,
yeah, yeah.
and then I felt
Nope.
subverted for just a little bit.
All right. Well, we'll get to that in just
I
a
was like,
second.
that's nice. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. So this was. I think I don't know what episode we're on. This is the second or third or fourth one we've recorded, but who knows?
It's an episode.
Yeah. It's one of many, hopefully.
Yeah.
So yeah.
There you go.
And I we haven't really come to like a conclusion about how we're gonna start these, but I think the easiest way to get into them is, I guess, to start with getting into the director and then a little bit of the background of the movie
Hmm.
and whatnot. And I wrote down some notes here, so we're gonna go through them and talk about the movie and talk about the director and just our feelings and thoughts about it. And yeah. So this
Yeah.
movie is directed by, who's this directed by? I wrote down his name and now
Charles Band.
Charles Band, yeah, whose family is pretty entrenched in Hollywood. His dad directed
Yep.
some wonderfully schlocky movies,
Hmm.
including a movie we were talking about before we started called Pre-Hysteria, which is a children's movie, and
Yep.
it's about this child who has some
Mhm.
little dinosaur friends that come to life, and it's not very good, but it made enough money for them
I
to
have a
make a sequel.
small I have a small memory of, I don't remember if I think I watched it when I was younger, but it didn't
Yeah,
stick
yeah.
with me. So,
So I did not watch it when I was younger, but I rented it from a place here in Memphis. Actually, it's going out of business. We found out yesterday, called Black Lodge.
oh,
Yeah, it sucks. It sucks. It sucks a lot. Yeah. They had
yeah.
movies that you could rent. I think they're still keeping that part open, so hopefully there's rumors that they're moving into a new location. So hopefully they maintain.
Oh,
But
okay. Well, hey, fingers crossed.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So they had it for rent there, and I remember renting it because I never watched it as a kid, ever, but I remember the trailer. I remember like seeing it in
Mm-hmm.
other movies for other kids' movies and things like that, and never actually watching it. There's another movie like that Warriors of Virtue. Have you ever seen that movie?
Yes, I have.
Okay, yeah. I see. I didn't see it until I was an adult because I remember it. I remember the commercial. I remember the trailer.
Yeah.
I remember fighting kangaroos, and I remember like
Yes.
nothing else. This is before the internet. So like trying to explain this movie to people as an adult and being like, so there's like kangaroos that fight, and people are looking at me like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like Kangaroo Jack? Like, no, it's not Kangaroo Jack. It
Yeah.
was like
Right.
it was like in the early, it was like early to mid '90s, like before, like around Power Rangers time. Like, no, don't remember that movie. Like, all right, whatever. And then years later, finding that it's called Warriors of Virtue, which is a terrible name,
The
and
terrible name.
they made a sequel to it. I think they made two sequels to it. I don't know if any of them have
Oh,
anything to do with the first
that's
one.
even that's such bad news.
Yeah, it's a very hard movie to find. I don't know even know if it's streaming anywhere. Apparently, it is one of those, like, if you find it on DVD, grab it because it's
Oh
probably
wow.
worth to watch at least a little bit of it.
Hey,
I
I mean,
remember liking it. I remember watching it illegally on YouTube and being like, for like a kids movie about fighting kangaroos, like around the same time
yep.
as Power Rangers, like it's
It
not bad.
it
It's
felt
not
very
bad.
Power Rangers to me.
Well, so far we
So
spent
yeah.
2 minutes talking about Warriors of Virtue.
Any yeah, that's all it takes.
Yeah, that tells you a little bit about this movie. So the premise of this movie is really interesting, and which goes back to the director who directed a shit ton of movies. Um,
Yeah,
Charles Band is still directing movies to this day. Uh,
he is.
he directed
A
all
lot
of
of like compilation stuff though.
yeah, all
Yeah.
of the Evil Bong movies,
Yep.
all of the
Which I've
Puppet
seen
Master
zero of.
movies. I've never seen any of the Evil Bong movies, although if I have, I wouldn't remember it. I have seen the Gingerbread
Yeah.
movies, and
See, I haven't seen that either.
I own all the Puppet Master movies, all of them.
Oh yeah.
A couple of them on Blu-ray, and he's behind
Nice.
most of those. He's also behind most of the Doll Man movies. Um,
Okay.
he, as a producer, though, is he so as I was doing research on this movie, I looked into all the movies that he produced, and he actually was the primary person behind Full Moon Features as a production studio. So pretty much every
Right.
movie that came out of Full Moon, he had some hand in. Maybe not every movie, but a lot of the
Mm-hmm.
movies he had some participation in producing or having something to do with the creation of the movie in one form
Mm-hmm.
or another. And my favorite of those movies, I don't know if you remember this one. This is another one that we watched way back when we were living together when I was in grad
Yeah.
school. Arena.
Oh.
Okay,
Yes.
yeah, you remember Arena.
Yes.
1989 movie about a
Oh.
space station boxing tournament. Um,
That's right.
yeah, Arena. I love Arena. Arena
Oh.
is one of my all-time favorite movies. Arena scratches an itch I have that I did not know I had.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
any movie that has anything to do with any kind of like martial arts tournament,
Yeah.
I'm fucking in.
Oh,
I don't
absolutely.
care. I just like for whatever reason, I just enjoy that. I even like the first like couple UFCs before there were really like
Mm-hmm.
rules when it was just people
Oh,
like
right.
street fighting with
Oh,
each other.
stomping on
like
heads and.
yeah, like the very first fight of UFC, a guy gets his jaw broken and teeth go flying
Oh,
everywhere.
yeah.
That's the first fight of UFC one. Like they get you into it pretty quickly as especially as a
Yeah.
kid when I saw that. I'm like
Oh, yeah.
with this, being up late at night with insomnia, that was the thing that I used to see a lot of and be like, I fucking like UFC, like shit. um, Once they got rules, I care far less.
Right.
It
Yeah.
was,
Then it's
I
just
like,
another.
yeah, Mortal Kombat, fucking
Yes.
love it. Um, fucking all a lot of the Jean Claude Van Damme movies from the
I was
80s.
about to say the exact same thing.
Yeah, like
Kickboxer,
Kickboxer,
Lionheart.
Lionheart,
Was it
yes.
Lionheart? Yeah.
I think so.
I,
Yeah, he did a couple
I
of
think
them.
that was the name of them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a
They
few of
were
them.
basically, to me, they seemed like the same movie, but,
Yeah,
or at least they all had the same
another
premise.
good one,
But,
Jim Cotta.
oh, yes.
Yeah,
Ooh, yeah.
any movie that
Oh, yeah. No, see, I
involves a
love those things.
specifically a tournament to the death.
Yes.
That's the creme de la creme right now. If it happens in a
Mm-hmm.
space station like Arena,
Yeah.
I forget which year Arena is set in, but we may have already passed it. The
I
movie
would
that we're
not
going
be
to talk
shocked.
about in a minute, the movie we're talking about in a minute is set like 6 years in the future. So we're pretty much it's pretty much now. Like
Oh, man.
it's not too far up in the future. It's set in 2030. So yeah. So
Oh,
yeah,
see, I didn't catch that part.
yeah. So Charles Band is behind this, and one more interesting fact about him that we were talking about before the start of the show
Yes.
is his son. So his
Yes.
son, whose name I do not know, but he is the lead singer of the early 2000s Christian.
The Calling. Are they Christian
I
band?
don't know. They have a lot of reviews from Christian websites. I looked at reviews of their
Oh.
album because none of their albums have good reviews. None of them. And they put out
Oh.
two of them, and they're both shit. Um, I tried to listen
Yeah.
to a couple other songs other than their one hit. Like
I
so they were
I
basically a
tried.
one hit wonder. What's the name of their song?
Absolutely.
Uh,
Wherever you will go.
Wherever you will go, I will follow. Yeah, that shit
Yeah.
song. Yeah.
It was like they were like a store brand Goo Goo Dolls.
Yes,
So
yes.
yeah.
Store brand Goo Goo Dolls. Um, Soul Asylum without the soul. Just the Asylum.
Right.
Yeah. Just shit. Just not good. Not good at all. Not a good band. Should not exist.
No,
somehow was popular on mostly in adult alternative stations, which you can blame the Gen Xers for that. They should just fucking.
I think so.
This is case number, at least not. It should not be primary case for Gen Xers not being trusted. There's a lot of other reasons for that, but this is one of them.
Oh, there
Like
are.
the existence of Matchbook 20 is also a prime reason that you can't trust Gen Xers. Because Gen Xers have terrible taste in music. They never got over Kurt Cobain's death, and it fucking shows.
Right.
They just
Yeah.
love their fucking horrible butt rock, Nickelback. Like
Oh
they keep
god.
that shit going. It is obnoxious. Do not understand it. Have to vote.
Don't you want to hear more fuel though?
Yeah, yeah. Give me yeah. The only fuel I want to hear is
Uh,
from Metallica, and even that I don't want to hear. Like,
Even that, yeah,
no, I'll
no,
skip that on the greatest hit selection. Like, oh no, thank you. Get back to a
yeah,
little
no,
something else there.
yeah, something else.
Yeah.
But
So
so here's another connection, and I
no, yeah,
kind of just found this
yeah.
with another musician in the family.
Oh yeah, his brother.
Did you? His brother.
Yeah, his brother does a
I,
shit ton of music.
well, he also did the music for the movie because I was so
Yep,
curious about the music in the
yep.
movie because it was the most generic music I think I've ever heard
Yeah,
in a
it's not
movie.
good. Yeah, it's not memorable.
No, no, not at all.
I actually wrote down in one of the notes like this music sucks. It makes this movie extremely boring and uninteresting to watch. Um,
It really
it
it turned it into like a daytime TV show or something like a daytime show or
it
something.
reminded
Like it
me a
was
lot of
that.
like a sci-fi original from like the 90s.
Yes,
Yeah, it has a lot
one
of
hundred
vibes
percent.
like that, but yeah. And I don't even remember who wrote this movie. I honestly I feel like
I don't
they
even. I never looked. I got so into the
yeah
whole
I
thing
went
with
down the rabbit hole of the director. I'm looking it up right now actually
Yep,
because I don't honestly know
yeah.
who
His
wrote
name
this
is
movie.
J.S. Cardone. I'm not even sure I'm spelling that right or pronouncing that right,
Oh,
but Joseph S. Cardone.
Joseph S.
Uh,
Cardone. I like
what has
the
he done?
so the I will say that the directing is not the best. The acting is not the
Right.
best,
The
but
acting is not the best.
some of the premise is interesting. Um,
I love the world building.
yeah,
I think they
yeah.
did a really good job with that.
So the writer
If we
also,
haven't said already,
yeah, he also
the
he
movie we're talking about is
Crash and Burn,
Crash and Burn.
Crash and Burn, yeah, yeah. Or as it
Yes.
sometimes is called, RoboJocks 2, which it has no connection
Which
to RoboJocks 1 at all.
I was gonna say
No, no
zero
connection.
connection.
No connection to RoboJocks 1 at all. But it is sometimes called RoboJocks 2. It has been marketed as that in a lot of
That
European countries and sometimes in some actually you can find it in some American DVDs. I realized shopping on eBay
oh,
a little bit. Yeah, I actually own this movie on DVD.
very nice.
Yeah, I picked this up in whenever me and the wife went to a this was one of our trips to Arkansas to visit some family. We
Yeah.
stopped in to get some drinks because we were going to like a little family dinner. And so we wanted
Mm-hmm.
to get some soda. So we stopped in to grab some soda and from like a Dollar General. And this it was a random Dollar General. I think it was probably somewhere in Northwest Arkansas, random town. And
Yeah.
they had a bunch of Halloween decorations out. And so my wife, being the Halloween freak she is, immediately is
Mm-hmm.
like, "Yeah, we're getting soda, but like I'm gonna go scout out the Halloween decorations." So I let her do her thing, and I go look at the movies. This
Mm-hmm.
was back when Dollar General still had movies. I don't know, the ones around here don't carry movies anymore, so they
Oh,
have not.
really?
Yeah, it's. I think most people have gotten purged their DVDs. They're getting rid of their physical media. They're going to become like vinyl
Yeah.
records again. They're going to start going up
Oh,
in
yeah.
value. I think at least. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's my premise. And
Mm-hmm.
back to the tangent at hand.
Right.
So we're in this Dollar General, and I'm looking at movies, and they have just like a wonderful collection of horror movies on the clearance rack. And it's like
Nice.
nobody wanted these, and one of them was RoboJocks, Crash and Burn, Robot Wars, There was
Ooh.
another movie that this guy wrote apparently, which I did not know, which was Alien Hunter with James Spader.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I,
So I actually
I don't know
have
if
that
I've
movie.
seen that movie or just seen like a trailer for it, but
I
I
it's one of
know.
those that I own and have never watched. It's just
Oh,
been
okay, yeah.
sitting in my thing. So the guy behind this movie also wrote Shadow Zone, and apparently he was the uncredited writer of Puppet Master, the story of Puppet Master, at least according
Yeah.
to IMDb. He also
Yeah, that's what
directed
I'm
some
saying.
movies too. It looks like, including 8mm 2, which is an interesting sequel that I have never seen,
Oh no.
and Thunder Alley. Holy shit! Yeah, he directed Thunder Alley. Wow.
Oh,
Have you
okay.
ever seen Thunder Alley?
I've heard of it,
Okay,
but I've
so
never actually gotten my hands on it.
yeah, Thunder. I don't even know it's streaming on Tubi. Okay, yeah, I'm
Is
probably
it
gonna
okay?
watch this tonight. Yeah,
I
so Thunder Alley is a wonderful shitty movie. It's about a group of like a group of friends, and they start a band, and their band gets like successful, and then they get into drugs, and it's just like it's basically a VH1 behind the
oh
music that never existed. Um, it is
that's awesome.
pretty shitty. And he is the guy who wrote it and directed it, and
Oh, fantastic.
that is
Okay,
great.
yeah, that's on my list now.
Yeah, it's a good shitty time. So back to Crash and
But
Burn.
yeah,
Now that we've
yeah.
tangented away,
Now that we've kind of we've circled the drain.
yeah. So nothing to do with RoboJocks 2. Sometimes called RoboJocks 2, though. Interesting though, his dad also directed a robot movie called Robot Wars, which also
hmm
has nothing to do with RoboJocks. And
Nope.
RoboJocks has nothing to do with a movie called Real Steel, which is a movie that came out a few years ago where Hugh Jackman teaches robots how to box.
I'm gonna blow your mind when you say a few years ago. It was more
Yeah.
like 10 or 15
Has it been
or
15
so.
years since Real Steel came out?
I don't. I
Oh
think did it
shit.
come out in?
I don't remember. I'm
I,
not even gonna look it up, so I'm just gonna feel old. But yeah, I remember when Real Steel came out in theaters because I went and saw it in theaters.
oh, did you?
Yeah, I saw Real Steel in theaters. Yeah, that was back when I would like going to the movies a lot more, and movies were cheaper back then. But so you could go see something shitty like whenever it was like Hugh Jackman, Wolverine is teaching robots how to box.
Yes.
Sure, yeah, I'll go to
Um.
that. Why not? How bad could that be? Even if it's bad, it's gonna be great. Like, yeah, no, yeah, I went and saw it. It's not good, but it's a fun time.
No.
It's a fun time.
I'm gonna go. I know you were running from feeling old, but it was 13 years ago.
13 years ago. Okay. All right, that makes
Yeah.
sense.
I
That makes
mean,
sense. That makes sense. That makes sense. I was
yeah.
gonna say because I knew it was like towards the end of college,
It had been.
going into like
Yeah.
actually working, and I was like, "That you can't be
Oh,
that
okay.
old."
Yeah.
Like, am I that old? I am that old. Turns out.
Oh. Oh yeah. It'll eat
So
you.
so far we've kind of avoided talking about this movie because for the most part this movie is kind of bland, and I think a lot of that has to do with the main
It's
character.
fairly bland. Oh,
I renamed the main character Normal McNorm because he is
yes.
bland as
Wha-
fuck. Like the actor is just not interesting in the
Not
slightest.
interesting. Not at all.
In the fucking slightest.
Like,
So I recast this movie, and we'll get to that later. And I think my
ooh,
recasting would
okay.
have saved this movie. That's my take. Hot take.
All right. I'm down with that.
Hot take. Hot take. I'll have to remember to go. So let's
hmm
so the premise behind the movie though, the world building behind it is interesting. There
It is interesting.
yeah, there are some interesting parts. There's some interesting writing. So the movie is set in 2030, and it's basically everyone has to live inside at various points in time because outside travel is
hmm
very difficult because of how hot the world has become.
hmm
The funny thing
The
about this,
ozone is going away completely.
yes, and this has a lot to do with a corporation that is basically behind everything, and it's a company called
hmm
Unisom, which is a great sci-fi name. Great sci-fi name for a
Oh yeah.
corporation, Unisom. Um, so Unisom is behind all of this, and the world is too hot. And but the funny thing about the
hmm
world being too hot and it being set in 2030 as a person in 2024 is that
Yeah.
the temperature they show is like the world is too hot. That's it's kind of like that's like a nice day in Tennessee or Texas.
I was
It's
gonna
like
say.
it's not a bad.
Yeah.
It was like
Like
103, 105, and I'm like, shit, dude. Like
I
that's
was like,
pretty normal
that's
these
what it
days.
was today.
Exactly. Like we're under a heat wave. We were under a heat wave when we started recording, Now it's cooled down here to a balmy 83, but or just if, like just
Oh,
like 20 minutes ago, it was almost 90.
yeah.
And this morning when
Oh yeah,
I
no.
woke up, it rained here in Memphis today, and then after it finally stopped raining, the sun came out, and Jesus Christ, it was hot. It was like
Yeah.
it felt like 105. It probably wasn't, but yeah, it's been over 100 degrees several times this summer, like
Mm-hmm.
alone, like
Oh, it's
upwards of like 105. I think it got to like 110 one day here. Like,
oh
yeah.
god.
And yeah, it
We've
turns
had a
out,
better time this year.
yeah, I was gonna say, it turns out 2030, even if it is hotter, something tells me we're probably still going to be going to work. I don't think
I
anything's
was
going to
gonna say,
change.
yeah, right.
Yeah, I'm surprised how little people give a fuck about the world ending. It's just like, yeah,
Yeah,
whatever.
really.
We still got to go to work though.
Still gotta go to work. The
So they haven't had any normal. They like the computers are banned. That's one of the more interesting things about this
computers
world.
are banned.
So they've
Very interesting.
yeah they banned
They
computers.
apparently had developed enough to have a sort of robot type thing,
Yes,
like they call them what, synthetics?
yeah, they have
And but
synths.
those were banned.
Those were banned, but we learned later on that that may not be exactly true because that's kind of the
There
primary
you
part
go.
of the movie, which we'll get to in a
Yep.
second. Because like we're speaking more about the world of this movie because when we get to the actual movie, um, not a whole lot happens.
It is.
It's not particularly all that interesting, um, but it's
They
okay.
really could have just named it A Day in the Apocalypse or something.
Something it has nothing really to do with the
Or an
apocalypse.
not even
Yeah, like the
because really, I
apocalypse
mean,
features very
it
little.
could
The
just
end of
be
the
a
world
small
features,
town.
yeah, the end of the world features insignificantly in this movie, and I think a lot of that has to do with the
Yeah,
budget. The budget is such
I
that
think so.
they only have like really three sets, and one of them is very clearly like a model of an outdoor environment.
Yes.
Another one is a gas station in the desert, which could
Yeah.
literally be West Texas or any part
Or
of
somewhere in
New
California,
Mexico or
or
California or
yeah,
Arizona or Utah or parts of Colorado.
like
Like
yeah.
it would be anywhere. And then the other set is the indoor set, which takes up most of the movie. Those are your three sets. It's a three set movie.
Which I did like that set.
Yeah, the indoor set's not
I thought
bad.
that was
Like there's different elements
yeah.
to it. They go to different rooms. Like there's some
Mm-hmm.
pipes. There's they make it work. They make it
It,
work.
they made an effort and it shows. So
So the movie starts with our bland hero named Tyson.
mhm.
He is driving a bike and dressed like a complete douchebag. He looks
Oh, it's the
so
dumbest
stupid.
looking thing.
He looks like
Mhm.
he's about to
And
try to take over the ski lodge and kick everyone out.
exactly.
Yeah, he looks like every
Oh, and
horrible ski lodge
it's gonna
villain
look
from.
more like that even later on. And when we get to that part, I need to remember
Oh,
because
when he puts on the
remember the
goggles.
ski lodge thing that still have the name,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
like of
yeah,
the brand name on
yeah,
the
yeah,
side. I
yeah.
was like, that's just ski goggles. I thought it was hot, like they would need to have like some kind of head
Nah,
covering.
just ski
No,
goggles.
no, they
Fuck
cover their
you.
eyes.
Just ski
Just
goggles.
in
Just,
the dark at night,
you don't need that shit.
tinted ski goggles
Tinted ski
that they
goggles at
need
night. I wear my ski
at
goggles
night.
at night. All right. I wear my ski goggles at night. So Tyson stops and gets
Oh,
gas, and we meet like this weird little mutant child who is a
who's
strange
been in the
man.
sun too long.
Yeah, he's been
So
hanging out
yeah,
in the
they
sun.
let us know the sun effect, like the effect of too much sun in relatively similar conditions to what we have.
Yeah. So the problem with this movie is that a lot of it is just narrative dumps from characters,
Absolutely,
which
it is.
is fine, but normally when you do that, if you're going to do that in a movie or any kind of writing, you should also piggyback that with a character that is new to this world.
Right.
So therefore, someone explaining the rules of the world
Mm-hmm.
has some kind of sense, right? So like when you're writing a
Yes.
D&D campaign, right? You think about this and you
Mm-hmm.
think about like, okay, so if I'm changing a rule, right? Like there's no magic in this world. I need to have
Mm-hmm.
someone explain that to my characters as to why, because that's naturally
Right.
probably going to come up. And so it makes sense in D&D because most of the time someone in the game is new or new to this world, or you can
Right.
also strong fist, ham fisted in there with some writing by adding a character that is like, oh, I don't know what's going on around here, someone tell
Right.
me,
Yeah.
right, and doing it some way like that. This movie's way of doing it is just everyone telling people shit they already know, and
Yeah.
it's just kind of like okay, that was
And I
weird.
think another facet to those like exposition dumps is they should probably go somewhere.
Yeah,
They don't.
yeah.
It doesn't really come up ever again.
Nope, nope. This movie does a lot of world building and then just
Yeah.
says, fuck you, done.
Yeah.
I don't want to finish this shit. I give up.
Yeah. Here's this whole interesting thing, but we're not gonna go over it. We're not gonna get into
Yeah,
that.
we're just
We're gonna.
here's
We're,
a fucking clue with a fucking robot. Fuck off.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, fuck it. So Tyson, he's getting gas. We learn a little bit about the world from a TV, which has a guy who becomes one of the bigger characters in the movie for just a bit
Mm-hmm.
before getting killed.
Just a bit.
Just a bit. Um, he's important for a minute, and then he dies. I looked that guy up.
And then
He's
he
also
died.
been in a shit ton of movies too, so he's an
He
interesting
looked
actor.
kind of familiar.
So at first, I actually wrote down in my notes, "Holy shit, is this the Dungeon Master from Skullduggery?" It is not,
Oh.
but it looks like the
Ah.
Dungeon Master from Skullduggery. So there's that. So Tyson, he meets these people. We learn a little bit about the world. He decides to head off because he's going to where they're doing the recording of the TV station at. Just so happens.
Yes.
Just so happens. As he shows up, we get introduced to a lot of characters, one of which is basically Alex Jones in the future.
Basically.
Basically, Alex Jones. He's just like a shitty scumbag, sleazy asshole
Yep.
who is like basically like hounding these two sex workers for being sex workers, which I was confused as to how they're sex workers if no one can really go outside much. Like that
Yeah.
seemed confusing.
Really.
But it also was like, okay, so the world ended basically, and you still gotta like, you know, work a 9 to 5. You still gotta pay mortgages and shit. Like that fucking
Yeah.
sucks.
Right.
But also maybe vaguely true. Maybe the writer's onto something, right?
Yeah, right.
So yeah, this is what's happening, and behind the camera is a girl named Erin, who we find out is a
Yes.
16-year-old who has a robot fetish, who becomes very important later in the movie, and is also the
Yep.
granddaughter of the proprietor of this little rebel TV
Yes.
station in the middle of nowhere,
And
talking shit
and
about
for
Unisom.
for some reason they make a real point of showing how insecure she feels and how everybody else around her is talking about how underdeveloped she is. It was enough of a point that I got uncomfortable enough. I had to look up the actress's age.
Yes.
She was 21 at the time. So
Okay,
that made me feel
I
a lot
I did not.
better.
That's good. Yeah, I did not look up her age.
And
She is supposed to be a 16-year-old in this movie, and the way she is written is weird for a 16-year-old. So
is
immediately she starts
exactly.
throwing some eyes at Tyson, and she tells Tyson early on he's 16, and Tyson looks like a healthy 39, maybe
Yeah.
41. He's got a 401k. Like he should not be fucking around with a 16-year-old. And yet
Yeah.
he doesn't turn her down, but he also like
No.
doesn't strongly say no. Like there's never like he doesn't like he kind of gives you like at the end of the movie, especially when we end it, like it kind of
Hmm.
it ends weirdly, especially with the
It's
age gap.
weird.
Yeah, you could, yeah. So he also meets this like teacher who works there because I guess kids got to go to school at the end of the world. Fuck you, kids. You still got
Yep.
to go to school. Now you go to school on TV, you little shitheads. We're going to make you go to school on TV. We're going to record it. You got to tune in like it's fucking WCW Nitro, and you're calling the hotline with me, Gene
Hmm.
Okerlund, and you're gonna get the news tips. Yeah, that's how they
So
have it set up.
they got that part sort of right about how we had to deal with that
Yeah, I mean,
with
honestly,
a little
like
bit of
yeah, like during COVID, yeah, a lot of that was kind of yeah, you weren't too far off. It was
yeah,
interesting. Yeah, it was not too bad. Like I said, this movie
yeah.
is not horribly written. I just think that the acting is
No,
uneven
it
and
was
the
definitely. Oh,
directing
it was.
is uneven.
Oh yeah, no. If I could just like, there's so many just they just set the camera there and just roll it, and that's it. There's no
Also,
movement.
like, go ahead. Yeah, oh no, there's not a
Oh
whole
yeah,
lot
I
of
was in.
movement at all. Yeah, oh no, yeah, yeah, yeah,
No,
yeah. Yeah, which I think
it's
is very much a budget thing. I forget how much this movie cost.
it,
I'm guessing less than a million,
it was like at right around a
right
million,
around a
I think.
million. That would make sense. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So the
yeah,
teacher
it
is
definitely
teach.
showed.
Yeah, the teacher is teaching, and for some reason, she is by far and away the most attractive character in this movie. And
Mm-hmm.
everyone calls attention to that, including the 16-year-old. Like that, speaking to
Yes.
how she was feels very insecure. They make it a point to they make the other male characters
It's
in the movie make it a point to point out to the 16-year-old that compared to this teacher developed
mm-hmm.
female woman, you don't compare to her. It's like, well, no shit, she's fucking 16. Like, it's
Like, why is
weird.
this a thing that you're
Yeah, it's
thinking
a
about? Like,
weird part of the
no,
movie. It's a weird thing. You know, it
it
doesn't
is.
it comes up and then it goes away because other shit
Yeah,
happens and it just kind of it's like a
yeah.
story
It's
point that
like
they're
with
like,
that.
fuck that. Never mind.
Yeah, like when everything starts happening, I'm like, and everything like starts to develop with that for a while. I'm like, so what was the point of that?
Yeah,
Why
so
did I have to feel all icky?
I think that like what they were going for, so this is me putting on my writer's hat here. Okay, so
Right.
I think that what the writer was going for was to show that she starts off the movie as being a young character, and then by the end, she has grown. But the writer is bad
Oh,
at writing, and so
yeah.
instead, they feel that how do I best call attention to her being young and inexperienced? I have the male characters call her flat chested. That's how you do it. Um, and it was yeah, it's weird. It's not a good part of the movie at all. It's yeah, it makes it very
Oh no,
uncomfortable.
it made me. Yeah, I was just like immediately. I had to be like, I have to know, like,
Yeah,
what
I
on
did.
earth?
Yeah, yeah. So Tyson
But
is
when I looked
here.
her up, oh, I was gonna say one thing about the actress. I
Yeah.
looked her up. She's this was her first movie,
Okay.
and she was 21 at the time. The only other thing I've seen her in was Encino Man.
She's an Encino
Um,
Man. Oh wow.
she was the she was the love interest for Sean Astin.
Oh shit.
Yeah,
I fucking love Encino
Robin, I think
Man.
her name was.
Raw. Yeah, 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 yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I fucking love Encino Man.
that's her.
Hell yeah. Nice. Good for her. That's some good. She's
Yeah,
been some
see,
good movies.
way
Good
to
for her.
go up from there.
Yeah. I I
But what a first movie.
I wouldn't say this movie is bad. We'll get to it when we get to the end of it.
Well, no,
So
it's definitely not bad,
yeah. So we also meet.
but they didn't do her any favors.
They did not. So we meet Aaron. We meet the teacher whose name I couldn't bother writing down, and
No.
we meet the old man who's a plot device who's going to die soon. We meet future
Yep.
Alex Jones, and we meet Quinn, who is the one who comments on the
When.
flatness of the 16-year-old's chest. Who I wrote down literally, Quinn is a creepy fuck. Um,
Yep.
so we learn more exposition dump as we sit at this table. Old man tells us that humans messed up and triggered the atomic collapse, which is why
Mm-hmm.
Unisom outlawed computers and robots due to some gospel that they've read.
They read the
Basically,
Revelations.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And then he goes into a whole spiel about Unisom and government. Everything he says is very, I guess very politically
It's.
neutral. It's all very much like the government is evil, bad government. Like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I think we've all can probably attest to that. I don't think there's anyone that's like the government is just got my
Mm-hmm.
best interest at heart. Like I don't know if you're paying attention to what's going on. If so, um,
Yeah.
Tyson's
I
not
try
able to.
not to.
So Tyson shows up here, and then as soon as he shows up, he's like, "Well, I'm about to leave." And then a storm
He.
happens, and he's like, "Oh, I can't leave now because there's a storm."
Yeah, it's one of those. It's those premises where it just everybody is, you know, just happenstance stuck together. And I will say one thing that another thing that is brought up but goes nowhere again is when Tyson is talking to Aaron about how he got into this work. Like he's not the typical, corporate stooge or whatever. And he says this one quote that is just stuck in my head the whole time.
Yeah.
They needed a guy who knows about motorcycles. And it's like, why did they need that? It's the worst way to to transport. What did he have? Freon. Like,
Freon, yeah.
wouldn't a truck be better than?
A
Like,
truck would probably make
there's
more sense.
better vehicles.
I
Yeah.
don't know.
So
Yeah.
they needed a guy that knows motorcycles, and then motorcycle. Like the only time you see him on a motorcycle is at the beginning,
True.
going to the thing, and
Yeah.
it never comes
Never
up.
comes up again. Nope.
So,
Never
I'm
comes
like,
up again.
why
Ends the
would they
movie
need
not
that?
in the motorcycle at all.
Didn't fix a motorcycle. Nothing came up. I was like, why would you?
Yeah.
They just needed a guy to drive a motorcycle because you
Yeah.
can find somebody to do
You
that.
can hire
You
somebody.
can show someone.
Job creation.
Yeah, there's
You know.
you can just. It's not that I can't. I don't want to dismiss riding a motorcycle, like how hard it is, but I feel like you can just teach someone how to do that. Like
Probably.
I,
Probably.
but you don't.
Probably.
You don't need mullet the ski captain. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. Bullet
Like,
mix skeet. So he decides
exactly.
to eat dinner with them. A thermal storm happens, and
Hmm.
everyone gets stuck together, including Alex Jones and the sex workers that he has apparently hired to, I guess, have
Yeah.
some kind of threesome that is never shown on
I
screen. Thank God. Um,
think. Oh yeah.
yeah, but
But
yeah,
they end up being really,
they stick around a lot
what's
longer
the
than
word
you
I'm
would think.
yeah, and they actually have they're pretty good at what's the word I'm looking for? Like they have a lot of character as far as taking, helping out with the whole situation
Yeah,
when everything starts going wrong.
yeah,
They're pretty capable.
yeah, true.
And
So
it's like, well, that was pretty good there. That was really out of stereotype, and I kind of dig that.
we also find out.
If I got to give a point.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah. True. So we also
Oh, I
find
was going to
out.
say if I got to give them a point.
Yeah, fair. So we also find out
Yeah.
that from Granddad that apparently the reason Alex Jones has a show is because he owns a
That's
mortgage, which I wrote down further justifies that, like, apparently even at the end of the world, you got to have a fucking day job, which kind of blows.
Yeah.
Like, banks are still coming for
Banks
your
are
mortgage.
still.
Yeah, like, yeah, Jesus, man.
You guys still got to worry about liens. And,
Yeah,
oh,
you can't
God.
have anyone doing that. Yeah, so everyone's eating dinner together. Nothing, and then soon, anything interesting about this movie ceases very quickly. A siren goes off as everyone sleeps, telling everyone that the power is
Yep.
out, and now this becomes a horror movie. Grandpa's
Yes.
dead, but how? And how is everyone going to keep from melting with the power out?
Yep.
And that's pretty much
And
the
then
rest
for
of the movie.
whatever reason, the satellite dish falls again. Another thing that goes nowhere. It just
Yep.
happens.
Yeah.
It just crashes into the ceiling. And like I waited for that to do something later on, and it did nothing.
No.
So
No. So I mean, I went through like all of the murders, but basically this becomes a kind of schlocky slasher movie
like yeah, it became a
set
slasher.
in a post-apocalyptic setting. So Granddad's dead. Aaron's pissed. Kids all shook up over the old man dying. For
Yep.
some reason, the teacher wants to jump Tyson's bones. I guess the end of the world, you get desperate because he is Normie McNorm. He is also the most bland, boring motherfucker in the world.
Oh,
It is awful.
forgot so much about him.
They have to put on these heat suits to put the power back on. The heat suits are lame, and this is when the goggles come up.
The goggles. That they
Motherfucking
just
goggles.
clearly went to a ski resort, or just any kind of sports store,
Yeah.
and just got these ski goggles.
They were probably filming in Denver and, picked them up.
Right.
Just off the side. It's not a big deal. Make sure they're white to match your other part of your suit.
Exactly.
We need to cover the logo. Nah, I don't.
No,
Don't worry about that
we're not
shit.
gonna take that kind of time.
I ain't gonna worry about that. We'll let someone else deal with that shit. Move
Yeah.
on. Yeah. So
we got a lot of shoots to get through today.
power's back on, and we get set to our next plot device. Erin's missing because she's all shook up about Dad.
Yep.
Alex Jones goes for a little stroll to find Erin, and instead finds Quinn, who's also acting very creepy.
He starts being very Bill Moseley.
Yeah, exactly. And this movie kind of becomes like, who is the bad guy? Granddad is dead, but we don't know what killed him or who killed him. But eventually, Tyson finds Erin, and she shows him all the stuff from the 90s, and we learn that Granddad was also a member of the Liberty Union, which is a counter I guess you would call it a terrorist group
Yeah.
to Unisom. And we also
Yeah.
learned that Unisom has used synths cannot speak synths, which are synthetic humanoids
Yep.
to spy on us. And we learned that one of them killed Granddad. We know this because
Mm-hmm.
she knows his social security number,
Get that
and
part.
she can read '90s DOS text. Like, yeah. So
And they got
now
into the robotic laws just a little bit. They got a little Asimov
they
in
did
there.
get into a little Asimov. Yeah, they got to tie that in there. Get into the first
Yeah.
law. You know, hey, here's how it's breaking it. It chose to
Yeah.
fuck you. Ask any other questions, and we don't have answers. So please leave us alone.
They called it a crash and burn
A
virus.
crash and burn
I was
virus,
like,
hence the name of the
I was
movie.
like, that's what that means. I
That's
thought
what
it was
that
going to have something to
means.
do with motorcycles.
I did too. You would think from the cover of the DVD, the cover of the DVD
Yeah,
prominently features a motorcycle. So you're like, okay,
and also
Mad
the robot,
Max.
and I was like,
Like
there's gonna be
I was
something.
I was thinking
Yeah,
this was going to be a little Mad Maxy. I honestly thought he was going to like
yeah,
arrive to Thunderdome and like shit was going to go
yes.
down. It's not really what
Especially when
happens.
he said they need someone that knows about motorcycles like that. I can't
Yes.
get that out of my head. It
Hey,
haunts me.
it's what you should say to
It's
everyone you meet for the next couple years. Just they
exactly
need
like
someone that knows
whenever
something
someone
about
asks me a question,
motorcycles.
I'm like, they need someone that knows motorcycles.
It's true. So he learns about all this, and they decide to reenact the movie from the. They decide to reenact the episode or the part from The Thing with John Carpenter,
Yes.
where everyone's got to do a little blood test. Turns out no one's a synth. Ah, the 16-year-old was
No
wrong.
one's a saint.
Oh, but wait, we find out that Quinn is really a synth. And we find this
Yeah.
out after Tyson and the teacher fuck in what is a horrible 90s cinematic sex scene
Oh, it was
that goes on for
really bad.
way too long. Um,
I,
especially
it
going
was
in, especially as
very
the
unmemorable.
yeah, like especially as the movie ends, it makes less sense. But
Mhm.
as you're watching it, you're just like, this is an extremely boring sex scene that is taking up way too
Yeah.
much time. Like we can skip over this. This does not really matter all that
Yeah.
much
No.
in the grand scheme of things. Um, so it turns out that Quinn is a synth, and well, Tyson
Yep.
likes to fucking run, so he immediately gets up after having sex and grabs himself a shotgun, and he does this. He tells Aaron he does this afterwards because he saw that when Quinn did the blood test, he covered the blood results so quickly that no one could see that it was fake
Mm-hmm.
blood. And then he immediately had the Alex Jones guy get cut. So their
Yeah.
blood mix, which becomes a plot device later, which also goes nowhere
Mm-hmm.
very, very quickly. I think it
Because
just gave them
apparently it
the
was
opportunity.
coolant.
Coolant,
Mhm.
yeah. I think it just
Yeah.
gave them the opportunity to make Alex Jones' hand get huge for a second. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So
It
that becomes
was.
a thing later. So Aaron, she gets so she gets attacked by Quinn, but Tyson comes to her rescue with a gun, and then
Mm-hmm.
Quinn becomes the most interesting character in this movie very quickly
Absolutely.
as he just starts overacting like a motherfucker.
Oh,
It
it's
is beautiful.
beautiful.
It is beautiful. Yeah, yeah. So the Quininator then finds Alex Jones, and the Quininator kills Alex Jones by ripping his hand off and then killing him off screen.
Yeah.
The coolant that the Quininator is powered by is was mixed into Alex Jones's cut and caused an immediate
Mm-hmm.
infection and like a giant growth, like very disturbing size of this hand gets. Yeah, and then it's
And
gone immediately.
that's yeah, and that's the plot. I guess that's the plot device on like how Tyson knew
Yes.
it was that Quinn was actually. He's like, that only happens with this. Like, how do you know that? How is that a thing?
Yeah.
I thought these things were banned.
So
Like,
then, after killing Alex Jones, which no one cares about because he's a shitty character, we'd fucking
oh yeah,
let him die. He then commits some casual sexual assault, then a little casual rape,
yes, he
then
did.
murder again. Then we think Quinn is killed, and our brave heroes are going to brave the mild post 2020 heat. But no, Quinn ain't dead, motherfucker. He jumps back on, and
Says a
nothing.
great one-liner. What he says like, "What? Leaving so soon?"
Leaving
I
so
love that line.
soon. Yeah, it's a great one liner. Yeah.
That was awesome.
But Quininator is nothing for a truck and a wonderful perm. So
Yep.
they just fucking run his ass down, and then the movie gets into another plot device, which
Yep.
so a good thing to do in writing is when you get to the conclusion, you don't introduce anything new.
Right.
This movie doesn't take that advice. This movie
No.
decides, hey, let's have some shit happen. So during the thermal storm, a giant rod falls on Quinn and Tyson, and they're both trapped together. And
Hmm.
Quininator is like, I don't give a fuck. I can rip my limbs off and just keep going at you because I'm fucking
Yeah.
Quininator. Meanwhile, Tyson is like, I'm stuck. Shit. Well, turns out Aaron, earlier in the movie, has revealed to us that there is a robot outside that
Yep.
she has been fucking around with because she likes robots.
Yeah.
And oh shit, she figures out she can use the robot to pilot it,
Yeah.
which is, I think, just typing in what she wants it to do is how she pilots it.
I
Like
think that's
I think
basically what
that's
it
it.
was.
That's all we ever see her do. Like there's no she
Yeah.
doesn't. So like if you're gonna have someone pilot a machine that the audience doesn't understand how it operates, maybe you would usually have them say like, "Oh shit, my thermal core is off. I need to adjust that," or "Oh, I need to like narrate what they're doing." She
Yeah.
does it in absolute silence. Um,
Absolutely.
you just see a screen and it say like walk. Like, all right, shit, this is how you pilot these things. They made it seem like this is gonna be real hard. Like she's the only one who can do this, and so she does. She saves Tyson. She kills Quinn. Yay! Party's over. But
Yay.
wait, as
But
Tyson
wait.
goes up to find Aaron, he sees a note left behind which says, "Do you remember what it says?"
Oh, I don't remember what it said.
There were two.
There were two.
Yeah, we find out there was a second synth. Who is the second synth? It's the teacher.
it's, it's the teacher, one of the only three that's still alive.
Yes. So the teacher immediately attacks Tyson inside. Is it inside of Chekhov's mech or is it outside of Chekhov's mech
I,
where they fight?
I believe it was outside because
All right.
I think it was outside.
Chekhov's
It was
mech
really hard to
is
tell the difference at some points.
it is no longer Chekhov's
Um,
gun on this show. It is Chekhov's
yeah,
mech.
exactly.
Chekhov's mech.
That was what, yeah.
That's what
Because
I
at
wrote
the
it down
very
as.
least, give him any credit at all. He at least established it exists
He did. He did
instead of just
establish
being
it
like,
exists. That's why I wrote down it as Chekhov's mech. I forgot to
yeah,
establish it exists because we were talking about the movie and completely like and the nothing that
it,
happens. So like they don't belabor it. They mention it in passing at the beginning, and then
it's
she
very,
talks. She sees it again later, and then she pilots it, and that's pretty much it.
yep, and that's it.
Yeah, that's your three.
And
Those are your three. It's also the only possible connection this movie could ever have with RoboJocks.
yeah,
Otherwise, there
and
are no
it's,
robots. Like none.
yep,
The entire movie has
none.
no robots. There's a synthetic, but there are no robots.
Yeah, like, yeah, I wanted, because you see that big robot on the cover of the movie, and it's like, I want, is that going to do something? Like, is that going to really feature? And
Yeah.
no, it's just a get. That's just this. Anything could we could use anything to kill this synth.
Yep.
Apparently, a shotgun to the head worked
Shotgun
on
just worked just fine on the teacher.
that. Worked just fine on her, but no, not going to work on this
Yeah,
guy.
Quinn
We
did.
need a robot.
You need a friendly robot in disguise, a helpful friendly robot. Um,
If
yeah. So when they shoot Quinn with the shotgun, he's just like takes it like a fucking T-1000. He's
yeah,
just like whatever, bring it on. And then at the end of the movie, when the teacher attacks Tyson and she reveals that she is a synth, within seconds she gets her head fucking disintegrated with a shotgun. Like it just blows up like a melon. Like it's just gone.
yeah,
Just immediately
it's
gone.
like
So they decide they need to get the fuck out of there, and so Aaron
yep,
and Tyson, a hard 35, 39-year old, got 5 kids,
Mm-hmm.
has a mortgage back home, and his 16-year
Mm-hmm.
old friend. I don't know if she still
Friend,
has the hots for him or
new
not.
pal.
She definitely has the hots
I
for him at the beginning of the movie. Like that much is
yeah.
very
So I
clear. It's weird. So they
and
decide that they're gonna go, I
yeah. So
guess, like Joe. So they decide that they're gonna go to the gas station and fill up, and that's where we
yep.
next see them at. And then when they get back into the truck to leave the gas station after filling up, we learn that they're going to go meet the other freedom fighters. And where are the freedom fighters located at?
They're in Bakersfield.
Yes, I have this written down. Why is this funny to me? Because I lived in Bakersfield for a year. And I can
Yeah.
tell you definitively, this is what I wrote down. This movie had me with its world building until they mentioned Bakersfield. Nothing important has ever happened in Bakersfield. Nothing. Nothing. Nothing.
Nothing liberating about it. No liberation front there.
Bakersfield, I'll put it like this. Bakersfield is the West Texas of California.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay,
There you go. If you ever thought to
that works.
yourself, like, California must be a beautiful place, and then you're like, what's in the middle? Bakersfield. Like,
Okay.
oh, okay, yeah. It's hot, and then shit happens. That's it. It's probably great if you're like in your 70s and you want to retire. Like, I could see that being cool,
Right.
but like outside of that, yeah, I didn't have much fun there.
It's that.
So that's pretty much the entire movie. That's Crash and Burn.
Yeah,
And
that's
yeah,
crash and burn.
this movie has a lot of potential, but I feel like it was a
It
little
really
hamstring
does.
by the money. More than anything, like I feel like there's just a lot. There's a lot of world building that you're given, but not all of it is fleshed out as much as it should have been, which is a
Yeah.
little upsetting because like we spent most of the podcast talking about the world and all of the
Yeah.
things that happen in the world and very little about the characters because they're not all that interesting.
They are not that interesting.
But the world is interesting.
The world is interesting. Like this corporation
Yeah,
takes basically like full control,
of everything.
they they have just decided that humanity has just caused all these ills to the world, and it needs to be completely like things need to be outlawed. you
Yeah,
you need to be banned from things. And then it's a they get they get their hands on the revelations, and that's something that drives them.
yep,
Like
yep,
that's
yep,
interesting. Like that,
yep. And then
there's
the heat
something
waves.
there.
Then
And
there's all these
yeah, and
heat
then
waves
these
that are happening.
thermal events, and yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
like it's the world is very interesting, and it sucked me right in,
yeah,
and I liked a lot about that. But
yeah.
then then the kind of weak dialogue and
Acting.
um
I shouldn't say the act.
exactly
So the
like
acting is uneven because Tyson is
it,
boring as fuck. Aaron is
oh
fine.
yeah,
The teacher was
she's fine.
okay. Quinn is okay.
She's okay.
Alex Jones is okay. Actually,
He's
everyone's
definitely
good.
giving it.
Yeah, everyone's fine except for Tyson. But when your main character is that
Tyson,
bland, it really kind of
yes, if
sucks.
that it
Like he just
the
doesn't.
driver of
He
the
doesn't.
movie
Yeah, he doesn't
is
draw you in at
just
all.
yeah, I was like I was more excited anytime anybody else was on screen. I was like, all right, here we go. Like, you know, the Alex Jones type character, like he had a lot of personality. He was bringing it. Like
Yeah,
he had, I don't know, like it was just out there, and everybody else, had that. And the sex workers had a lot, going there. They even sort of alluded to one of them had a possible drug, disorder or something like a drug
yeah,
addiction or something,
yeah,
and
yeah,
they and was actually doing a really good job of dealing with it. That's good.
yeah,
That's nice. So, um, but yeah, like the the writing was good for the world building. Character, I don't know that they were really that interested.
yeah.
I think they just liked the world.
No, yeah, yeah. I feel like this
It
movie
was
is it's okay. Um, I didn't hate it. I actually really liked it. Kind of like you
yeah,
said. There's a lot of
yeah, I
parts.
liked it.
There's a lot of really
If
good
I'd have
parts.
Yeah, if I didn't known about this movie when I was younger, I would have loved it.
Yeah,
It would have been a
yeah.
really good movie to me.
Same, same, same.
Yeah, 'cause I
Um,
watched a lot lot of movies that were just like this, or at least
Yeah.
this same level of like, with like budget and
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
the setting and things like that.
Yeah.
So,
I feel like I said at the
yeah,
beginning of this, it's a movie that's not bad, but it's not quite as good as I want it to be. But
exactly. It's yeah,
I
it
did,
falls
oh,
short.
I did kind of like rewrite this movie a little bit,
Yeah.
and I also recast it. So I'm going to tell you how I would remake this movie. This is my
Ooh, yeah.
spec script, Crash and Burn 2, Electric Boogaloo um, spec script. Not even a sequel. This is a remake, right?
Oh yeah,
So
we'd have to remake it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So basically, my version is a Clue style movie set in the 2030 apocalyptic wasteland. And here's the
Ooh.
premise: the heat wave is so intense that no one can go outside. So building on what's already being told, our hero is a traveler. There's not many of them left, but he's traveling between
Mm.
cities to deliver packages. So a little twisted metal kind of thing going on with the TV show if you've seen that
Yeah,
recently. It's borrowing that a
I
little bit.
really hadn't.
Also, Postman. There's a bunch of other things about this
Yeah.
kind of.
Oh yeah.
It's very very much a trope. But
Hmm.
he is risking it to travel through the wasteland, keeping the entire intro go. Like whatever the intro is, he getting gas. Like he sees all that's fine. He makes it to
Yeah.
the TV studio, but now he breaks in instead of just showing up. Right? Turns out he is the revolutionary, and he is going to use the studio
Ah.
to mount a revolution against Unisom. So as he begins to broadcast this message, while this is all happening, we have this parallel plot going on, and
Hmm.
we learn that he is being trailed the entire time. So he thinks he's alone, but Unisom knows that he's up to this, and so they already have someone following him. So the other
Mm.
character shows up at the studio as well. They get in, the antagonist and the protagonist get into a fight, and just as that happened, the heat wave hits, and everyone's stuck inside together. So we have the Unisom cop, we have our hero, all the same characters. They're all stuck together,
Hmm.
and then it kind of plays out very similarly to how the movie played out, but less of a horror story and more of who is the person behind the killing, but a little bit more nuanced in the storytelling. That's all I kind of wrote.
Right.
Mostly, I wrote the
Yeah.
cast. That was mostly what I kind of wanted to spend more time on. So here's who I would cast in
Yeah.
this movie. So my main star, I'm getting rid of Tyson, whoever the actor is.
Yeah.
He's in a bunch of movies. I looked him up. He's actually in he
Yeah.
does a lot of voice acting too, which he's probably pretty good at.
Oh.
My main star, based on the time period this movie came out and the budget, so that's what I took into consideration, was
Hmm.
1990 and the budget. And my main would have been Roddy Piper.
Oh, that would be amazing.
This seems like a movie Roddy Piper would be in, based on They
Absolutely.
Live, Hell Comes to Frogtown. Like,
Hmm.
this should have
Oh,
been a
it'd be
Roddy
great. Oh,
Piper
he'd be
movie.
he talk about someone that could really bring it.
True. So,
Oh.
now, in my version, the Unisom agent is, right from the beginning, we know that he's after Roddy Piper. So
Hmm.
I got to have somewhat opposite Roddy Piper that can feel like they could actually fight back against him. If They
Hmm.
Live, you got Keith David. Well, here,
Right.
Rutger Hauer.
Oh man,
You can afford Rutger Hauer. Rutger
I
Hauer
think
has
they
starred in some
yeah.
shit. Rutger Hauer has starred in some shit. Tell me
Yeah.
Rutger Hauer wouldn't star opposite Roddy Piper.
Oh,
Um,
that would be
so
that'd be amazing.
our Alex Jones scumbag, I decided needed to be a person of color because this movie is way too white.
I
And
didn't even think about that.
yeah,
You're totally
every
right.
person in this movie is white. Every single person. Apparently, it's 2030 and only white people exist.
And
Yeah,
yet
it's
it's an issue with being out in the sun. Like
yes,
anybody with even a little bit of pigment would be much better suited.
yeah,
But no,
yep,
these California white folk.
yeah. They're yeah. I was gonna say they're already in California, which is me. So
Yeah.
my Alex Jones scumbag, I'm still keeping him the same character, but I am having
Hmm.
him played by Ozzie Davis.
Remind me who Ozzy Davis is.
So Ozzy Davis is been in so many movies. Hold on, like I gotta look up.
I
Like
bet I know him.
so the first one that's gonna come to mind is he starred opposite Bruce Campbell and Bubba Hotep.
Oh, oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, that
There's so
Ozzy
many
Davis.
actors I don't. Okay,
Yeah, yeah. He
okay.
was also in Grumpy
Oh,
Old
okay.
Men. He was in a
Yes.
bunch of Spike Lee movies.
Do the Right Thing is the next
Yeah,
thing
yeah.
that's
Do the
coming to
right
my
thing.
mind.
Yeah, 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 yeah. He was in Do the Right
Yes.
Thing. Yeah, he's in Do the Right Thing. He's in Do the Right Thing.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So
See, I'm so
Ozzy
bad with
Davis
names.
is who I got. Similarly, was in a lot of movies in the '90s, around the '90s. Mostly better
Mm-hmm.
movies than this,
Yeah.
but I feel like I feel like we could stretch and get Ozzy Davis. If not, we stick with the actor that we had. He's fine. He was okay.
Mm-hmm.
He was
He
also
was
in some
fine.
good movies too. He was in a lot of good stuff.
Yeah, I did see that.
Um, for my female lead, and this is probably just because I've been watching a bunch of movies with her recently. Tony Basil.
Tony Basil.
Yeah, yeah. The
I like
'80s.
that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
We recently watched Slaughterhouse Rock with her in it, and that movie is not very good. Slaughterhouse Rock is a great name, bad movie,
Yeah.
but she is great in it. But similarly, the movie is kind of slow and boring until like the last 20, 30 minutes. And then you're like, okay, there's a lot going on all of a sudden. And then my TV grandpa, I got
Oh yeah.
Hal Holbrook.
Okay, I know the name.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to get me up to speed on that one.
Into the Wild was a good movie he was in. He's been in a lot
Mm-hmm.
of like he's been in a lot of movies, but Into the Wild is the one that I really stand out to
Mm-hmm.
him in. What other movies has he been in that would come to mind? Oh, there was a couple others. So he's been in a lot of like plays and a lot of stage things, but he was also
Mm-hmm.
in All the President's Men. Um,
Okay. Okay.
he was in Sons of
Um.
Anarchy. He's been in a lot of like big movies. Like he was in Lincoln. Um, he was in a bunch of things. He was nominated for an
Oh.
Oscar for Into the Wild, or maybe it was a Golden Globe. I can't remember one of those ones.
Mm-hmm.
But back in the '80s, he was in some schlocky horror movies. Like he was in what was it? Creepshow. Um,
Oh, he was in Creepshow.
he was in Creepshow. So I feel like if he would be in Creepshow, he could appear in this. He
Yeah.
could appear in this
I
post-apocalyptic
like that of all the movies you just mentioned, that's the one that resonates with me most.
Creepshow.
It's
Yeah,
Creepshow.
yeah. Fuck Lincoln and all the rest of Into the Wild.
Yeah,
Like,
right.
it was
Like all
Creepshow.
these. Yeah, like all these.
So
Yeah, I.
realistically, my casting is not the best, but I'm pretty firm with
But
Roddy Piper being a better lead.
oh yeah.
And
Oh
if
yeah.
we have to replace Quinn, which I like in this movie, but if we have to replace
Yeah,
him, I feel like Rutger Hauer could be a good one.
I think so.
I feel like Rutger Hauer could hang
Yeah,
in there.
I will say this ended up being a really like the way that because it's Bill Moseley, so he
Yeah,
was just it became a pretty serviceable Bill Moseley slasher,
yeah,
and
it's all right.
and
It's all right.
and they did that part good,
Yeah,
but it seemed a little out of place with what they were doing with the setting. I wasn't
yeah,
expecting that,
yeah. I
so
went in. So this was one that whenever I said we should watch this, I did not have. I didn't. I owned it, but I had never watched it. Um,
mm-hmm.
didn't know anything about it. Didn't know anything about the writer, the director, any of that. Just was like, let's watch Crash and Burn. Apparently, it's
Yeah,
set in 2030, and it's during a heat wave. That's kind of funny. We're in a heat wave right now.
that is
Um,
that's funny.
but the movie is not really a post-apocalyptic movie at all. It's basically just a
No,
slasher movie with robots and synths, and with a lot of
yeah,
world building that eventually just kind of goes nowhere, unfortunately, leaving a lot of meat on the bone with some
mm-hmm.
otherwise good ideas that just kind of
Yeah,
unfortunately never really materialized into anything substantial.
yeah.
Well,
But yeah, it'd be a really interesting world to play in.
that is where we're going to end tonight's episode. So we will see you
Mm.
guys next week, where we will watch another movie. I don't know which one we're going to watch next week. We need to re-record the Lost episode, which we'll do one
Oh
of these
yeah.
days. The Lost episode, yeah. But thanks for tuning in. Sorry if my voice sounds a little hoarse. I just started going back to work, so part of going back to work means me standing in front of people and talking all day, and
Oh yeah.
that apparently has rendered my voice a little raspy. It sounds like I don't know.
Oh yeah.
I can't tell if I sound like whenever I hear myself talk, I sound raspy and I feel
Mm-hmm.
congested. So I
Yeah,
feel like that's how I
you got a
sound.
little rap going.
A little rasp. Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
I felt like anyway. Yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna go take some medicine and maybe try to feel better because I
Yep.
got to go back to work tomorrow and do it all over again. Thank you guys for
Yeah.
listening to the show, and we will see you next time. Peace.
See you next time.